So to be in the present moment, there are several ways of, so to speak, coming into it. One of them that I'm talking about today is through the body. So one question that, we have this big question, who am I? Socrates' question. But a question that came to me through partly teaching the Alexander technique and Tai Chi and Qigong. The other question is, where am I? Where am I right now? In myself, in the world, in the position I am sitting, standing, or lying down in. So let's look at that for a moment. Let's just take a look at our bodies as a possible path toward awakening. One of the, just a second, I have to do something here with this. Okay, never mind. So one of the ways to do this is to start at the bottom. We talked about grounding on Mother Earth. Because for 400 years we've been thinking, therefore we are, according to Descartes, and my interpretation is I am, therefore I think, I feel, and I act. So go to your feet. Go right down to your feet with your mind. You're taking your thought and planting it, interesting word, in your feet. Wiggle your toes. Raise your lower, your heel up and then put it down. Raise your sole up and put it down. Move back and forth from one side to the other. And think about this. You have 26 bones in each foot. That means there are a lot of connections between bones, a lot of stuff going on in each foot as you wiggle and move your foot. And now just leave it quietly and allow it to sit, and even think of it as expanding, as I want those 26 bones in each foot to open up and find plenty of room. In fact, if you're not in shoes, which could be considered a kind of coffin of the feet sometimes, because we're all at home, you may not be in shoes, you may have your socks on. You have more wiggle room. It's awfully good to go around, not always with your shoes on. So you are connecting with the lowest part of your body and acknowledging its existence. This small foot is carrying all your weight. You each know how much you weigh. It's carrying all our weight, and it's taking us for 40, 50, 70, 90 years all over wherever we want to go. So I think that deserves a lot of respect. We can treat our bodies like a donkey or not, but they are not there to simply be pushed around. They are there to serve, just as we perhaps are here on earth to serve. So what's happened, if you're beginning to feel a little more present, well, let's go on. Let's move up the lower leg. There are 2 bones there and a lot of flesh surrounding your lower leg. Can you bring your mind up your leg as if you were, your attention was a great searchlight, and you're following up from your ankle up toward your knee slowly, like a slow motion camera. And then say hello to your knee, which is a nice joint with a hat on top called the patella. And then come into the biggest bone in your body, the femur, in the upper leg. There's your butt on the chair, taking all your weight, and your belly. And we've all been learning about the belly brain, which has only recently been recognized by science, but the ancients knew about it long, long before, as did all religions. You're breathing, and you're aware now, say from the waist down, of your lower torso, the pelvis, the upper leg, the lower leg, and your feet. How does that feel? How does that bring me into a kind of awareness of this particular moment? What's happening is that your attention, our attention, is bringing us into the present moment. The attention is a very, very important part of being present. In fact, you can call it the passport to presence. And it is in my power to turn this attention right towards myself and away from everything that's pulling on it. Because, of course, everything calls me away. Everything that moves or clinks or in any way I feel an obligation to notice. I'm not saying that we should be trying all the time to be aware of ourselves, but it's not a bad idea to think about how we could come back sometimes, even frequently or less frequently, make appointments with ourselves through the day. And we'll talk about that more. But let's return again to the present moment. One way of entering into an awareness is through the eyes. The eyes are our windows on the world. So here's a Taoist exercise. It's called Eye of Tiger. The tiger lives in the jungle and has to have very sharp eyes, but also very great awareness of self and what's going on around him. So everybody form a triangle with your hands like that and look through it. That's right. And you fix a point. It may be on your nose or mine, whatever's in front of you. Find a fixed point to look at, and then let go, lean back, and see the whole room you're in, see everything. So you're going to go from a fixed point to vision of everything in a diffused awareness. Fixed point, diffused awareness. Fixed point, diffused awareness. This, think of the tiger again. He has to see clearly one thing, but he also needs to see everything around him. So the most important part, perhaps, of coming into the present moment is returning to this reality of my body, which I call grounding myself on Mother Earth. Whether you're standing or sitting or lying down, some part of you is being held, sustained by the earth. If you're standing, it's your feet. If you're sitting, it's your butt and your pelvis. If you're lying down, it can be your whole body. But you are supported always from below. So, how to occupy this vehicle and find my own place in the world? Right now, here's another thought for you. We've explored the feet, the legs, and the belly. Turn your attention on your engineering marvel of a spine. It holds you upright. It's a central pillar. It allows you to bend and twist. So how about a little twisting, a little moving around? And think of it from the spine. Your thought is in your spine, right? And now put your palm on your vertebrae up here by your neck, and notice how it's in segments so that it can bend and twist. You could even pull just a little bit so that your head goes up and your whole spine lengthens. Whole spine is lengthening and even bending and twisting. It's bearing your weight and offering stability to your upper structure. And its most important job, as you know, is to protect the spinal cord. Now, to do this, get your head around this. These bones are twice as tough as granite to withstand the forces of gravity and compression. Now, as you bend gently forward and back, experience that they are 4 times as more resilient than concrete against stretching. And they are 5 times lighter than steel. So as we explore the sensation and the form of the spine, notice again the mind has turned into a great searchlight that seeks to rediscover whatever it's turned toward. Attention is our passport. It lights up everything we look at. Therefore, how about looking within and on into the present moment? The more, this is because, what I'm saying this is because your attention can be lengthened. It can develop staying power. You will be able to focus longer on whatever you're doing. Now, just to go somewhere else for a moment, gravity is pulling us down. We know that. But there's an equal and opposite energy coming up from below. It's what holds us upright. So here's another thing to try. Sit up straight and let go holding on. Just let go of holding on to yourself. You could lift up your shoulders, which are always pretty tense, and let them drop. And notice how you didn't turn into a puddle on the chair or a puddle on the floor. So if you decide to relax, you aren't in danger of dissolving or disappearing. You are staying standing or sitting, but you are letting go of holding on to yourself. Notice whether you're in a balanced position. Now, I asked you to sit up straight, so we got away with that. But if anytime you can study this by letting go of holding on to yourself, if you're sitting on one hip, you will see things sag. If you're standing on one foot, you will see how I am not centered in myself. So if centering is so important in the sense of finding my deepest center, it is helped by the idea that I need the movement even of centering myself right in my body's state. So, science has begun to talk about the head brain and the belly brain, but of course we have 3 brains because there's the heart as well. And an important part of coming into the present moment is practicing to bring the head, the heart, and the body into relationship with each other. We've all had accidental encounters with this deeper sense of self, right? However, presence, and this is the subject of a whole book I wrote, my first book, The Practice of Presence. And by the way, Felipe, there are copies in Spanish. It's been translated into Spanish. So my strong feeling is present needs to be practiced. And as you practice, you return more frequently. As you practice, your attention grows more focused. What Gurdjieff famously said was, "You cannot live on gold you find in the streets. You must mine your own." You cannot live on gold you find in the streets. You must learn to mine your own. If you think of it this way, there's a river of energy flowing through us all the time. It's that river that you can't step into twice. It has moved on. And this river of energy is going through you at every moment. It will take you like flotsam and drag you along in your life. Or you can intentionally step into the river and be energized by it. Energy energizes. That's an anachronism. So, however, we soon discover that this experience of presence, this gift, isn't something we can produce just whenever we want to. It's a mystery, and it comes, or sometimes it doesn't come. Why is that? Why can't I? Well, as I say, there are certain, you could even call them tricks, like asking yourself, where am I? Or one of the really good questions is, what's going on right now? But you're not asking it to the people in the room or in about outside things. You're asking it, what's happening in my thought, the turning of my thoughts, the automatic flowing of moi going on and on. What's happening in my feelings, my emotions? What am I reacting to right now? What do I like or don't like? And again, when I turn to my body being, and I call it that, it's not just a body, it's a being. It is, I am a being, and there is in me a body being. So when I listen to the body, and we talk about that, right? We talk about listening to the body, although we honestly seldom know what it means because we don't listen. So if you want to think about what are the important things about coming into the present moment, aside from these questions and this seeking out the body and how it is functioning and how sensing is a good word, sensing the body. But another way is to learn to listen. Why am I not tuned to the present moment? Why am I in tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now, my deadline or whatever? Or why am I in yesterday arguing with a person who sold me something that I didn't like and wouldn't take it back, or whatever's going on? We aren't listening on the right wavelength, for one thing, but we could find a way to tune ourselves, like an instrument. We are an instrument, how to tune ourselves. If I can stay a little longer with that question, what's going on in me right now? What am I here for? Where am I? Inquiring, that will lead me to a sense of presence. Try right now asking yourself where you are in space. Find your feet, see if there's tension in your legs, your belly. Let your shoulders go up again and drop. Notice your breathing and follow it in and out. Set up a program with yourself to take 7 breaths at certain moments in the day. I mean, you can make ahead of time when I sit down, do this, or however you want to do it. 7 breaths. Noticing the flow of energy through you, which could be very fast or very slow. In other words, you could be feeling low at that moment. You could be feeling very lively or tense or overwhelmed. All those things. You're checking in with what's going on in you, but you're also taking 7 slow breaths as you check in. Sometimes you may just be sitting there filled with longing, wishing you were different, and that's what we do a lot. In other words, we always want to be where we're not, or feeling how we aren't feeling. And very seldom, at least this is one of my sins, is that I'm very happy when I'm happy, but that's my right. And the rest of the time, I don't like it at all. So that's annoying. That's one of the ways I am. This universal energy, however, is living in you. It's living a life of its own unless I'm connected in some way. Then you may be visited by the energy again. Now, if you have tried meditation for a long time, and frankly, it's become that it doesn't work anymore, or it's a bit this or that, experiment with another approach. Investigate sacred movement. What makes a movement sacred? Any act that includes the body and as it centers the mind can carry a special quality of heart or soul or whatever you want to call it. Every body longs to move, to express the feelings that rise up from its depths. So whenever there's a need to express deep, nonverbal emotion, sacred movement begins. That is how humans have always prayed for help, or propitiated or thanked the gods, or warded off evil, or even cried out with joy. Ritual movement offers a bridge from our ordinary day-to-day existence to a deeper existence, a deeper experience of life. The Greek plays and the medieval dramas invited a communal experience of what it means to be human, for example. And Christians in their rituals share the body and blood of Christ. The Japanese focus their finest attention on the making of tea. And in South America, the Mesoamerican god Quetzalcoatl dives down into hellish darkness. This always moves me so much. He dives into hellish darkness every night in order to rise again as the morning star. A dramatic reenactment of our possibility of dying to yesterday in order to begin each day freshly. I always get choked up by that. So you know the rituals that are easy to come by: yoga, tai chi, qigong, sacred dance. All of them are a call from body to soul and soul to body in search of a conscious union between them. Jewish mystic Aidan Seinsaltz explains in the 13-petaled rose how the exchange is working in both directions. He says, just as the union of body and soul gives life to the body, so does it wrap the soul in material substance, providing it with the powers of the physical body. So here's an exercise that relates to that, and it's one that we do a lot in Tai Chi. So take your hands and put the base of your wrists together, and then put your hands together, and you will see that the fingers are exactly the same length, right? Now put one hand down and leave the other hand up in the air, and you're going to start thinking. You're going to think of those fingers growing toward heaven, if you like, growing toward the ceiling. And you're going to keep thinking of the growingness of those fingers coming right out of the palms and moving upward and growing more and growing longer, and keep growing longer and longer. And this is thinking, it's not a doing, it's thinking longer and longer toward the ceiling. You can almost feel them getting closer to the ceiling, and closer and closer and closer and closer. Now you're going to put your heel of your hand together and gently see whether your fingertip has grown a little bit. The one you have to put them flat, Dick. You have to start flat and run them together. So I don't know how many wave at me if one finger has grown more than the other. Has anybody found that? Nobody's found it? Look at mine. I didn't cheat. I didn't make it grow. I just thought it growing. And there it is. Okay. Anyway, what that shows us, if it works, obviously, is the power of thinking over the body's functioning and movement. So the thing that I would end with, and I'm not sure whether I'm on in the right level of time, because then I'd like to have some time to talk. What I'd like to do now, if everyone would consider doing it, is stand like a tree. So if everybody would consider standing up, and I'm going to move this so you can see me standing like a tree. So you can see my feet. I'm going to put my feet shoulder width apart. I'm going to remember that there's 26 bones in each foot, and allow those bones to occupy all the space they want to occupy. So I'm going to think of finding kind of the center of the foot on each side. There's something in Taoism that they call the golden blade. The golden blade is the center of the foot running down from the second toe all the way back to the heel. And that golden blade could be where your weight is more or less focused. So find your feet. Now sink your feet as if you were a tree. Send your roots down into the earth. And let go of your ankles. So we know the earth is a great magnet. Imagine that the magnet of the earth is almost sucking your feet toward it. And the roots are going down, but you're releasing your ankles, and you're coming up from your ankles. So there may be a little movement. I always find there's a certain amount of movement there. And let go of your knees as well, and your hips. And now take that great instrument of your attention, your mind's attention, and bring it up from the ankles, through those two bones, to the knees, and then up toward the pelvis, And each time you're looking for tension and releasing any tension that you could release. And then you're at the pelvis. Release the hips if they're tight. You don't have to hold yourself up. Earth will hold you up. And now, come into your torso. Fill your torso with breath as you breathe. Just, it's not so much that I'm doing something as that I'm noticing something. Because if you notice carefully as you breathe in, your belly moves, your chest moves, of course, but your back also goes back, and your shoulders move. So you're breathing into the whole of you. And your arms are dangling there, but that you're aware of them. In fact, if you've been doing that little exercise of the hands, they're probably tingling a little. So let's open our arms and embrace the tree, or embrace the world, it's called in Taoism. And then allow your knees to soften a little, almost as if you were sitting on a high stool. And again, come back to the image of the tree. And if any of you are standing near a window, as I am, and you see a tree out there, make a connection with this idea that the roots of a tree are almost as big as, and maybe they are as big as, the branches. So there's a lot under me that is relating to me. And I'm standing here, and I'm very aware of standing here, and I may be a little uncomfortable because it's not something I'm used to doing. The elbows kind of drop down, and the fingertips talk to each other. So let the energy come from your back toward your elbows, and then from the elbows toward the wrists and the hands and the fingertips. And just hang out there for a minute or two more. You're probably swaying a little, I hope so, because that means you've let go of your ankles and your knees and your hips. And hopefully it feels kind of good. Otherwise, I do think whether it feels good or not, you're very aware of your body. And that was the purpose of this, to come into the life of that river of energy I was talking about earlier.